Why do certain directors get obsessed with certain ideas? I think it stems from a sense of belonging and personality. Once again, as we're going to find out through this series, my favorite director, Christopher Nolan, he always goes back to complex films or sequences to do with time, like Inception, Memento, can go on and on. And that's why a lot of people even question his newest film that's coming out soon, which I can't wait to come out, The Odyssey, is how is that going to look without his signature? But his signature is his style himself. But don't forget, we are what we think about most of the time. So the reason why he's obsessed with certain ideas is even the way he talks, he doesn't really consume a lot of media. So that could even be a reason why the fascination of time and the recollection of how it's even recorded to people is fascinating to him. And that leads perfectly onto my next point is, do directors even choose the themes they choose? Or is it chosen for them through their own subconscious thought process? And that sounds very mind styly and very extrapolated for no reason. Simply put, do you choose the theme or does the theme choose you? Now, either which way, it doesn't really matter because it's something that you're going to love and enjoy, and that's why you've even taken that path. And when you're directing something that you've written your own screenplay, you'll see a lot of encoded things which are very you. But very much like Tarantino, when you look at his films, you know he's written a lot of his films, or at least had something to do with the writing process, because it feels like his film. Whereas certain directors who don't write their own films, you still feel that same passion and that same, you know, direction that they choose for their film specifically. But it's not the same. And that's why I think you don't choose your theme as a director. I believe it's chosen for you through your passions, your likeness, and a bunch of other stuff. But you let me know what you think. And right now, these first points that we're even touching on heavily touches on the first things that I was saying in my last video. So check that out. I'll put the link to the whole series somewhere at the top. And that nicely leads me on to my next point is, are great directors even making different films? Because if you look at bodies of work, you see the same patterns repeated through Tarantino, through Nolan, through Scorsese. If you look through their works, you see a very common theme. And is that because they don't want to make something new? Or is that just because they've found their style, which is working? I even had a long time putting this together, thinking, am I even making sense here? Because of course, Tarantino has films from Pulp Fiction to Kill Bill to Made Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It's very different, varied films, but there's still that trace of Tarantino. Now, does that mean the film's the same? No. But does that mean his directing impact is seen through all of them? Yes. And I think that's why directors always come back to the same questions, always asking themselves, is this me or is the film me? I hope you understand what I'm trying to gather at here is, do they choose what we're choosing to watch, or is it a subconscious process? And I think that's one of the key questions directors ask themselves all the time, especially if they're writer directors. It's something that's always playing on your mind. Even back to a study of confirmation bias, it's literally a law of human psychology. You find things that support the ways you want to think. And that's why I say directors, great directors, don't really make different films. They give different perspectives on the same point. You let me know what you think. That's how I see it. And confirmation bias plays perfectly into that, because you'll find supporting evidence around the points you want to make. But the key thing is, right, is to catch yourself doing it and actually undoing that process so you can hit everything from a whole 360 circumference of, I've covered this point in every way possible, instead of the exact same story again and again. You just tell the same story with a different angle. That's what I think. Because even if I was to tell a film about sadness, for example, right? I can tell sadness in 101 different ways. Does it make it the same film? Technically, yes, but no, because it's a completely different story. Once again, back to the dramatic, stories, right? We had a lot of my stories come from college because that's the last time I ever bothered with formal film, right? Um, Tangent. we was in college and we got given words. We had to pick words out of a jar, right? There was three of us and we had to pick a word. I think it was happiness or something like that. And then you're given a genre. Now, I think I was given happy horror, and then someone got happy drama, happy comedy, right? Now, at the end, we had three different films, but all on the same subject. Do you get where I'm coming from here? The same story can be told literally in 1,000 different ways. So when anyone tries to tell you this story's been told a million times before, but have it been told through your lens? Has it been told through your own life perspectives? No. So no one can even tell you anything and how to properly convey what happiness even looks like to you. It's like what people say your love languages. Yeah, you got a love language, but that's how you're receiving love, but everyone's feeling that same thing in different ways. Hopefully, that makes the most simple, eloquent point so you can understand what I'm getting at. And do you believe films are even trying to solve anything? Because a lot of films, in my opinion, right, are empty nothingness. Now, that's personally just because I like films that make me think, right? But a lot of films don't solve anything anymore. They used to inspire you or make you think about stuff. Nowadays, films is the same repetitive thing. And that's why I like watching bodies of work instead of like franchises, because when you look through a body of work, you can see consistent things. And a question I ask for to you directors or anyone in a creative field, right? Do you see the golden linear line of all the stuff you do? Because I believe you're supposed to, because that's your unique spark of this is creativity, all this mess here, but you see this linear line. This is where I sit and I can distinguish my work from anyone else's. If you put a Christopher Nolan film and a Tarantino film side by side, you know who made the film without even mentioning any names. And then, should we even be chasing new ideas? Because personally, nothing's new under the sun, as we say, right? I don't think we should chase new ideas. I think we should chase new perspectives. Tell a story a different way. We've all heard about the struggle story, or especially in UK culture, we get a lot of gang films or knife crime violence. How can we tell that story in a different way? Why do we have to keep conveying the same story again and again? Literally, I can put you, I'm not going to bait out the page, but if you go on some YouTube channels, right, and see the short films are shot beautifully, all credit to them, but it's the same story told the same way. They're not even trying anymore to try and even make it differently because there's no complaints, everyone's getting paid, blah blah blah. But I implore you, bro. I encourage you, right, to look through your lens and ask yourself, how can I tell this story differently to anyone else? Please, I beg. I don't ever beg, but I'm begging, right? Do not tell the story the same way everyone else does, because that is literally killing film. Literally killing film. On top of streaming services and a bunch of other stuff. But it is literally killing what you loved about film, which is when you leave that cinema, you feel something. I'm starting to not feel anything anymore when I watch films. And this is the question I'm going to leave you with. Put it in the comment section below, right? What question will define your career? Because this whole episode here is about questions and your unique spark and all of that. But what is your question and what is your view on life that you can tell uniquely to you? What is your experience and how can you tell it better or more uniquely than anyone else? Because as you know, people relate through pain, right? Or relate through success. That's why a lot of people have similar friendship groups about based where they are at the point in their life, and a lot of reasons why you lose your friends as you get older because you're not the same people or they grow with you. So, what question will you be asking the people, not the person, the people, multitude, right? Of what question are you asking them when they watch your film? When I watch a Christopher Nolan film, the question I have all the time is, where am I in this film and what do I need to decipher? When I'm watching a Tarantino film, I'm thinking, when's the next foot shot? You know, not literally. When I watch a Tarantino film, I'm waiting for the pop culture reference. The question is that he's asking is completely unique to him. Always questions. Everything's a question. Film is the most complete art form, because it asks questions at every spectrum all the time. And if you enjoyed this video of Frame to Thought, please let me know with leaving a like, comment, subscribe, share. You know how it gets. Appreciate you watching. Catch you in the next one.